On this AVSocial, we talk about how to find your voice, both humorous and informative, on social media, how to handle mergers and acquisitions when your vendor is sold or buys somebody else, and also planning for 2018. All that and more. Next on this AVSocial.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.
This is AVSocial, episode 29, recorded Friday, December 15th, 2017, tweeting Spec Sheets.
Support for AV Nation is brought to you by Extron Electronics.
This is AVSocial, the social media and marketing program for AV Nation. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to talk about all things social media marketing for the Integration Channel. First and foremost, an old friend who has gone from being a member of the media to being an integrator. Her name is Lindsay Adler. She works for VCA. How are you, madam?
Hi, Tim. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you as well.
Lindsay
nice to be back.
Lindsay is formerly from SCN and then the New Bay folks. So I'm glad to see her as well. Also with us is Tim Sizek. Sizek.
You got it. Yep, Sizek. Okay.
I'll just redo that whole thing. Also with us is Tim Sizek from iVideo. How are you, sir?
Good, Tim. How about yourself?
Good. Nice to have you on. He's a first time. So what I wanted to do this month is kind of take a look at a couple different things. First and foremost, it's the end of the year. We're recording this in December. So kind of take a look at, holiday messaging and looking towards the new year and what you can do to position your companies to get ready and kind of hit the ground running come January. But the first topic, I guess, that I want to do is kind of mention how to do voice in social media and marketing both. And when I sent both Lindsay and Tim the stories and the kind of the topics, I referenced a specific social media handle, and that is Wendy's in the U.S. And a couple places around the world. Wendy's is a fast food joint, right? If you're not familiar, they are not the number one, right? McDonald's, to be honest, McDonald's is the number one person on the block in that market. But the person who does the social media for Wendy's has a unique voice. And in the environment that we are in, both politically and socially, I find that their success interesting. When so many people you can take offense at the right time, or reading somebody, or if somebody takes a political stance from your company, that can obviously have a negative impact. And they have found a way to kind of cut through all that crap on both sides and just be humorous. All right, they're self-deprecating, but they also give their competitors a lot of crap. They troll very, very well. Both McDonald's and a couple of the other competitors, as well as some of their detractors. They can have a rather sharp tongue. I mentioned them, but I also want to mention C's Twitter handle in general. If you're not familiar with KFC's social media, KFC follows 7 people named Herb and all the Spice Girls. Now, why that's important? If you're not familiar with KFC and the Kentucky Fried Chicken folks, their history and their backstory is that their special recipe includes 7 herbs and spices. So they follow 7 people named Herb and all the Spice Girls. Again, it's a long, right? It's a long tail joke, but it's incredibly clever, right? And it works for them. Tim, I want to start with you on this. Is as far as in our environment, in the world of AV, how do you maintain and first of all, how do you create a voice that is both consistent and with your company, but also resonates with your clients?
Yep. So I think making sure you're working to have your voice is important. And so not copying or trying to replicate Wendy's, who, Tim, as you talked about, is just a brilliant Twitter handle, very humorous, very interesting to follow. So, I would encourage folks to find the voice that you think is appropriate for your company, that represents you. But keep in mind, there probably should be some humor, or soft humor at least. And generally speaking, people aren't following iVideo or VCA or other companies purely for the jokes that like you might see with Wendy's, but no one wants to read manuals on a Twitter handle, right? No one wants long, dry stories on Twitter. I think most people go to Twitter to be informed, entertained. And so even if you look through Wendy's Twitter handle, yeah, you'll find jokes there, but they are trying to promote their brand and message. And so I think it's important for, if people want to do it well, to know who their voice is, who they are as a company, and try to stick with it and not cross their skis and get out and try to be too funny or have jokes that are lost. Everything is recorded and locked in the social media world. So you'd hate for a joke that you think is funny and pointed and maybe political to go the wrong way. You've seen plenty of firings and terminations of employees who have posted on their own personal accounts for what they thought was funny. So, would be conscious just to encourage everyone to find their voice and just make sure it's true for who they are, but, incorporating some humor appropriately that you feel comfortable communicating, would be a good thing.
Lindsay, I mean, how do you do that? Because a lot of folks, this is not their full, right? Social media may not be their full-time job. It may be part of their job, right? A lot of integrators, especially smaller ones, you wear many hats. You may be in charge of marketing, but you may also be in charge of accounting, or you may also have social media or training, education of your clients. So not only do you have to separate your time and allocate certain times of the day for social media, but also managing that should be a full-time job, especially if you're any size. Sometimes it can't be, right? Because you have other things to do. So what's the best way to kind of make sure you're maintaining that voice in a very, very crowded day?
Yeah, I think most of the time we're all wearing many hats, really, unless you have a social media agency. And for those wondering or doubting, social media is definitely a full-time job, really. I could devote an entire day to it. And maintaining that voice is one of the hardest things about it, really. When done well, it is incredibly powerful. Case in point, Wendy's, I think. But it's really, really challenging to strike that balance. It definitely takes some experimentation, right? And that's where social media analytics can be really helpful. Sometimes it's funny to see where things take traction and why, and something that you think might be really funny might fall flat, or maybe people don't care. If you're tweeting spec sheets or brochures, you're definitely doing it wrong. I hate to break it to you. But the other thing I would say is that when in doubt, err on the side of caution, especially when you consider people getting in major trouble for sending the wrong message. And one thing that I think is easy to see on social media is that people interpret things any which way, and it's often very unexpected how a message gets perceived on the other end of the internet. And if there's ever any doubt, I would be boring. Just, if you're ever not sure if something is, it's really funny to you and you guys are all laughing about it in the office and you want to share it out on social media, and that's great. That's a great idea. That's the right process. But, things can be controversial or taken the wrong way. So, especially at first, if you're kind of, newer and dabbling in this sort of thing, and it does take time to establish your voice and make sure that it's in line with the business. So yeah, I would say a good amount of experimentation and definitely be cautious. But the way that I try to think of it is just, trying to be myself in the most politically correct of ways. Because at the end of the day, what you want to be showing with social media is that you're a human, you're not a robot, right? Yeah. So, with holiday messaging, that could be a good opportunity to do that, where, I don't think humor is typically the strategy employed with holiday messaging, although, again, there's that challenge. I'm sure somebody could pull it off. Somebody at some agency could pull it off really effectively. But yeah, it's a lot of striking of the right balances.
And I do think there is a whole norm and acceptance within social media that's different in today's society, or just how people would communicate through email, on the phone, or in person. And so it does take some education to get your arms around, hey, how do I properly compliment on a vendor on a new rollout, right? You just don't say, good job on this product. That's boring. Maybe you want to throw in some emojis, right? Or a meme or a GIF to try to make a difference and stand out. And those are cool tools that I just described that you can enhance your message and get a little bit more specific wording or making sure you are hitting on the right, I guess, wording that you're talking about, Tim, is you can use things besides just words, right? When you're in an email, you only got words there, generally speaking, but social media, you can enhance it with some features, like I said, whether it's emojis or memes or video that you're adding in, which is pretty cool and can give different expression. But again, you don't want to cross your skis with that. So make sure you're following maybe some accounts and picking up and getting educated on how to interact and, I guess, correspond within social media world, because it is different than just words or email.
Well,
Yeah.
You actually bring up a really good point, and leads us into our next topic, and that's dealing with vendors, and your clients are a lot of times as educated as you are when it comes to the inner workings of manufacturers. We've had a couple of significant, let's call them mergers and acquisitions this year, even as recent as 2 weeks ago. Biamp was purchased, Milestone and Legrand, and you can go back a year from ago to the purchase of Harman by Samsung. How do you guys manage, I guess, and educate your clients with messaging when it comes to those developments? This past week, I sat down with Harman Pro's president, Mohit, and asked about a lot of the things that have gone on with Harman this year. They laid off 650 people. Well, your clients are seeing that as much as you guys are. And they're seeing, Harman lay off 650 people. What does that mean? So, Tim, when it comes to the changes and the shaking up in our industry, is there anything that you feel that you need to do with your clients to assure them that, these are our partners and they're assuring us that everything's groovy and everything's smooth sailing?
Yeah, I guess for when that breaking news comes out, in part, myself and I know our clients are on Twitter for the latest and greatest, right? So it is meant to be kind of real time stuff happening within the past 24 hours or even 24 minutes. You can't do a lot of live social media following. But for when those announcements come out, we will retweet them. I'm just letting folks know, hey, this is what's going on in the industry. This just happened. Conscious of not too many retweets, because you don't want to blow up someone's timeline, again, sticking to Twitter, but it is a great way to inform clients first of the news. And then, we will work as, either any informational updates happen to share those with our clients. Oftentimes, those are best handled candidly outside the social media world, where salespeople are talking and gaining the comfort level of, hey, I know Biamp was just bought. Listen, they're a stable, wonderful company. Here's some strengths of the company. They're going to continue in the future. We've talked with XYZ there. That's a message that's one to get across in person, my opinion, and a little bit harder through social media. So there's a time, to share information and news in social media, and other times to work on in person. And that's part of understanding your voice and your handle, I guess.
Lindsay, same kind of question. Not for nothing, but Lindsay used to follow, along and report on a lot of those M&As. So, taking that, that experience that you've had and also giving context to VCA's clients of what's happening.
Yeah, it's funny. It's an excellent question, and one that I really hadn't considered yet. I mean, just with the recent Biamp news, I think that's been the latest. Maybe it's been a quiet couple of months, or just, second half of the year when it comes to the M&Es. But, this is definitely one instance where I would tend to err on the side of caution, especially, when you're dealing with vendors online. You always run the risk of, aggravating a competitor of said vendor. Right. So, it's the type of thing that I would, retweet an announcement, simply just to have that out there, the facts. And I probably wouldn't say much else, until, I had the opportunity to speak with our local rep about it. Right. And just kind of get some added context. I don't think I would make any assumptions, at least not on, the official VCA handles. I might say something more personal on my own handle, which is, part of this game also is, leveraging your own personal identity as a resource or, as a person in the industry versus like the official, company accounts. Yeah, I mean, it's great to be able to add context, but, I don't think we can really make it up when it comes to that sort of thing. But it is definitely the type of thing that, next time our biome rep comes by, I'm sure we're going to talk about it, and I'm sure he'll have some really interesting things to say about it too. So, that would be the opportunity there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, as we kind of wrap up here, let's look ahead to 2018. We've had an interesting year in both the AV world as well as outside the AV world. M&As and the introduction of a number of new players or old players back into the AV space, but also from a social and a political side, not necessarily politics specifically, but how social media has evolved with the last year. As we look ahead to your guys' marketing strategy, and Tim, we'll start with you on this, as how do you guys plan for the next year, or do you even go so far as 12 months? You guys just kind of go month by month or quarter by quarter?
Yeah, for social media, it is a little bit more on a month by month basis. We do have certain programs and events that we're going to promote through social media. So, doing little trade shows and vendors coming through, or, exciting things we have going on in the company. So those are planned out a few months in advance. Then other things, we just have to take as they come. That's the fun thing about social media, is that it's hot and fast and a little loose. And so, we handle the other events, again, whether it's M&A or some exciting company announcement that we didn't plan for, but, hey, had a bunch of new hires or bought a company in XYZ area, we release those as they come. So, I think, again, part of it is planned, but part of it, you just have to be pretty flexible and ready to roll in. And again, I think that's the value and enjoyment of social media. You look at what's trending, and it's trending today, right? Or trending the past 24 hours. It's not trending for the past month or year period. It is just so fast. And encourage people, if you really want to do social media, right? On that note, see what's trending, right? Net neutrality was going on the past few days, real big on the social media world. That impacts the AV world. That's a topic that you can take a political stance on or have fun with if appropriate. There is, I think even the number one trending was neutrality, is a misspelling, but it was neuter opposed to neutrality going on. And so you could play with that, right? But you got to stay active and live in your social media, and you can't plan for some of those little nuances that help make social media fun and help your brand stand out.
Yeah. All right, Lindsay, same question for you. How do you plan for 2018?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm in a unique position where I've really been building our social media audiences, right? There wasn't a lot that was done with it. Prior to when I joined VCA in July this year, there was a little bit of a basis, but it wasn't maintained or anything. So, continuing with my strategy, which has been, just to continue to add fresh content up. And I've kind of taken a little bit of a different strategy from what Tim was mentioning, and his were all, really fantastic things to communicate. Some of the focus for me has been a little bit more on, using our social media channels to kind of present ourselves as thought leaders, really. So what I've been doing is keeping tabs on all the news, like I have always done, really, and sharing what I think is really interesting. The net neutrality is a fantastic example. It could be a little bit slippery politically. I said more on the personal account this week than I did on the company one, because politics. But always trying to, share interesting articles that I'm reading and actually say something about them, and not just share the article for the sake of it, pulling out a line, asking a question in the post. And then really for 2018, continuing to do that, but I'm also going to be working on a lot more content creation that just hasn't happened yet due to, a lot of other priorities that were going on, just as I started in this role. But content is going to be a really big thing in 2018 for me. me. Working with a lot of our vendors on that stuff, and also, more of my personal time being able to create some good blog posts and use social media to leverage that, and some infographics and that sort of thing, really. So, and that's the thing that I've noticed when I observe other people's, other integrators' social media, the ones that do it really well and that have big audiences, is that it's their original content, I think, that really gets the most amount of traction.
Yeah.
And I haven't had the opportunity to really do that in a significant way yet, but that's the big priority going into 2018 when it comes to social.
All right, very good. That'll be a good last word. Thank you both so much. Tim from iVideo, I appreciate it. How do people find you or iVideo if they're interested?
So on Twitter, we're at _iVideo. We also have Facebook and LinkedIn.
All right, very good. Ms. Adler, great as always seeing you. Congratulations again, ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, great to see you as well. You can find VCA at vcaglobal.com, and there are links to all of our social media channels there. On Twitter, you can find us at Video Corp, and you can also find me at Lindsay M. Adler.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me on the Twitters because at this point I'm complaining about the Bears football season. But go by the website if you would, please. avnation.tv, avnation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. While you are there, please check out our underwriter section. These are the folks who help us financially and help us do programs like this, and go to ISC and DSC and all the stuff that we're planning for 2018. So go by the website, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This has been AVSocial.